Hello and welcome back to the Higher View podcast. This is the podcast dedicated to the creative, the outside thinker, and the believer. And this is the very first episode of our marriage series. Round of applause. Da, 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 da. I am here with the one and only co-host and beautiful wifey, Alexus.
Hello. What is up?
What is up? How you doing today?
Doing good.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to be vulnerable and real.
Yeah, what's up? What's on your plate?
It's been a good day.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to this episode. I'm looking forward to the marriage series.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is by far going to be my favorite out of all the series we do.
I say the same.
Yeah.
I say the same.
Because we're married.
Yeah. I feel like, we have a place, more than any other place, we have this place to talk about because we have experience in our belt and we're married. So
and we're literally continuing to have experience and grow. Like, I'm excited for when we're like 5 years from now and how much more we're gonna look back at this video and be like, dang, like I can speak more on that right now.
Yeah, for real. I already know. That's the point that I wanted to hit today, but we'll get into that. So, welcome back, and this is going to be the first episode of many of this marriage series. So we're going to have, obviously, like the last series, many guests. We're going to try to have as much guests as possible on here to talk about different topics about marriage. So just tune in for different topics that go into marriage and, learn as we learn.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome and thank you for watching. But my name is Jonathan, and I am your host. This is Alexus. She's the co-host of this podcast.
Just said that.
I'm just reiterating.
Well, my day was great. How was yours?
My day was good. I got off early. I've been able to prepare mentally for this podcast, getting off early, and it's been a good day. We're about to have a little break, and we recently found out that Trump won the election. Everyone's walking around like they won the lottery around here. So.
In Texas, you know how that is.
So it's been pretty good. When you're around people that are in a good attitude, it makes a difference in the day, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's been a pretty good day.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, we're a pretty busy night tonight. We got lots going on, and wanted to record this episode and get this marriage series out, which I'm so excited. Yeah. But I think today we're going to be going more into like our personal story, just kind of start diving into it and what we are personally walking through today and growing in.
Yeah, a lot of people that we come across that we're friends with, a lot of them do know our story, but a lot of them don't. And
it's true. A
lot of people don't really understand what we have under our belt. And the things that we have gone through, the struggle we have gone through, all of the trauma that we've walked through, and all the things that we've had to let go of. So I'm very, very proud to be able to talk about this kind of stuff, and to be able to say, like, yes, I can talk about marriage. Yes, me and my wife can tell you how certain things can be handled. So I'm definitely excited to get into a little bit of our story. But I would like to preface the conversation with, I'm only 26, and I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm only 26 and I'm still very much learning. I'm still very much making mistakes.
No, I got it all figured out.
No,
just joking.
No. That's not what we're going to do.
Just joking. Well, you're like, I'm not going to speak for you, but no, I'm on the same page with you, babe.
Yeah. I know. For sure. I'm just messing. But yeah, I'm making mistakes every day. You out of anybody would know that.
Every day.
Yeah. You see my faults. Thanks.
We'll get into this a little bit more.
Anyways, yeah, just want to preface that with that we're still learning, we're still making mistakes, and we're not by any means in any perfect relationship, any perfect situation. This is just our experiences being shared with you, so maybe what we've walked through, you can learn from and not have to walk through the same thing. But a little bit about our story.
Well, can I just say a little something about that real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
I know you and I were kind of talking about this episode a little bit, and I feel like it's a good place to put this with having your home being a safe space for the mess ups and for those things, because I feel like we're walking through that like these days. Ava, can you lay down or something?
Hey, I'm right here. Lay down.
You were saying like how we make mistakes and we're still learning and growing, and I feel like that's a really good way to kind of start it right now. Just make sure your home, like trying to make sure your home is a safe space for each other to mess up, because we are going to mess up. Like, we aren't perfect. And if you learn to serve your spouse from that place, like when like you're figuring out how to handle certain things, or you're figuring out how to react in a way that's, you know, better, or whatever that looks like for you personally. And so it's like, how can I come to that place with a serving heart and like loving you at that place, and not take offense to it, and understand like you are for me, like you're not an enemy. I think that's like a biggest thing, like you're not an enemy. So yeah, I just want to kind of like start with that, like just have your home as a safe space for each other. Like there's no reason to have a home where you're walking on eggshells with your spouse. Like be vulnerable and humble with each other, and just like be there for each other. Like we're growing.
Yeah.
We're doing this thing together.
It's good to have that kind of environment, because when you do make a mistake, which is inevitable, it's like, all right, well, let's maybe try it this way next time, you know, and vice versa. It works both ways. So. Yeah. But let's just get into a little bit of our story. I know we kind of do have like a pretty wild journey, if I must say so myself. So do you want to go into how we met first?
Yeah, we can go into that.
Go as far as that?
Yeah.
So you want me to tell a story because I tell it better, right?
You go ahead.
All right.
Let's hear it.
So we're at rival high schools. I go to Fossil Ridge and you go to Central High School, which is probably 2 miles, 3 miles, maybe 5 miles.
Like everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. Everybody knows everybody. It's right. The high school's right next to it. We go to rival high schools.
What does that mean?
Rival? Like when we play sports, like we're rivals, or
okay,
we want to be better than that school, pretty much.
Gotcha.
But we were going to high school across the street, and we really never knew each other. We had like mutual friends, and I bumped into Alexus like here and there. I kind of always thought she was pretty, you know, I'll admit
Aww,
it.
thanks.
You stood out to me. But so 2 weeks before we graduated, we ran into each other for real at a prom party, and we kind of just like locked eyes, and we're just like, I've seen you before, but like I'm seeing you right now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm seeing you a different way.
Like we kind of had like, we had like a similar friend group, and so like we've been around each other, but like with other people at the time, like high school dating, you know how that is. And we just like, it's so blurry. Like it's like when you were around, it was never like, oh, I know who this person is. Like I barely knew your name. You know
I was just a nobody. So
that's not true.
Well, in your eyes.
Like I'm just trying to like make a picture in that time, like what it was like you really were like in the background of my life. Like you weren't somebody I was chasing, and I'm like, I want to be with this person. Like we were with other people at the time. So
no, I get it. So 2 weeks before we're going to graduate high school, so this is senior year, right? Senior year, 2 weeks, we're graduating high school. We start dating. You know, we get into a relationship, jump into something really fast. Emotional decisions were made. Not gonna lie.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, so we found each other. In 2 weeks, we knew each other. And her life decision was to always move back to the East Coast with her mom. Ever since what grade?
Or like since I was like forever.
What age? Like always.
Since I remember.
Ever since you can remember. Her dream was always to be with her mom, because she lived here with her dad and she wanted to move with her mom. So her mind was already made up, you know, like I'm moving to the East Coast. She told me that when she met me. I was like, okay, that's cool. Well,
I really wanted to stay. Like I started to like tell my mom, like, Mom, like I think I want to stay. And she's like, you're not staying for a boy. Like we already bought our tickets. Like they're literally driving me from Texas to Pennsylvania in my Honda 2003 Civic. Like this is a done deal. This is like 4 days before graduation. And I'm like, Mom, I want to stay. And she's like, no, you're not. So I ended up like, okay.
Little she knows she's going to come back to Texas for the same boy.
She loves you.
I hope your mom's listening to this story because it's funny. Yeah. But so we met 2 weeks before we graduated. And then she left to the East Coast. And we did long distance for 2 years. A very mixed up 2 years. We were in a relationship, then we weren't in a relationship, then we were in a relationship, and things got messy.
I feel like the last year got like that.
Yeah.
I feel like the first year was pretty solid, but then the next year, I mean, just from like my side, like I was very much in the world out there. 18. I'm like hanging around college kids, doing college parties, doing things I shouldn't be doing. And I just like started to like be like, I don't know if I like want to be in this relationship anymore. Like it was a lot, like emotionally, it was like everything. And so I remember, yeah, if you want to take away from there.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she was in the East Coast and, you know, doing her thing, and I started doing my thing over here. And we kind of split ways for a while. I mean, not for a while, maybe like a couple weeks, a month at most. Things were pretty shaky at that time, but we decided to get back together. We're like, all right, you know, this is something that we want, and we made a decision. Like, if this is what we're gonna do, you're gonna have to move back to Texas. And I remember this being the whole big deal. You know, this was very serious, a huge decision to move back to Texas after moving to the East Coast for only 2 years. And you weren't even by your mom at the time, right?
Oh no, I was in Maryland. So I like lived at my mom in Pennsylvania for like a season, and then I think it was like spring and summer I moved to Maryland and got a roommate with my friend Libby. And shout out Libby, and she was on this podcast. I'm gonna go watch it. But it was because my grandma was out there and she has a salon, so I wanted to work with her. But I know that you're like sharing this story, and I like how you're sharing it, but like it's very surface level. And so like when you're speaking these things, I'm having like I want to get a little deeper in like some points. So if I like stop you, that's why. But like just so you guys know, like during that shaky season, we hurt each other very much. Like both of us did. There was cheating happening.
Yeah, we were with other people.
It was very much hurtful. And I decided, like, I just knew in my like soul, like I'm supposed to be with this person. Like I don't know what it is. Like something kept drawing me back to Jonathan, and like from a long distance place. Like I'm all the way in the East Coast, and I would be confusing to him. He's like, why? Like you just broke up. Like why are you still reaching out? And so I literally like chased him. Like I don't know if you remember this.
No, I do.
Okay, just make
Vividly.
sure. I I literally flew, like after like something happened. I don't really remember what happened, but like in 2 days I got my plane ticket, and I was like, I'm coming down and seeing you, and we're talking about this in person. Like I'm not doing this over the phone. And so I know you're pretty like hard-headed and stubborn also, but you ended up being like in a hotel. And I just like came, like my friend picked me up, dropped me off at the hotel. She was all concerned for me. She was like, please like call me if you need, like, is he harmful or anything? I'm like, no bro, he's not harmful. And I just like showed up, and I fought for our relationship. I like really showed like I want this to work. Like I feel in my bones I'm supposed to be with you. And so when I flew back to the East Coast, we both decided, if this is going to be, like, let's see if this is meant to be. Like, come down for the holidays. So I came down and lived here for 3 months. Do you remember that?
Yep.
I lived at my dad's. Mostly lived at your house.
Yeah.
It was for the holiday season. I stayed here from like October to like January or something like that. And we decided, yep, that's it. A year, like that May, you came down and we packed all my stuff up in Maryland, put it back in the 2003 Honda Civic that made the 2 round trips, 24-hour round trips. Let's go.
Shout out Honda.
Yeah, for real. If you need a good first car, Honda, I'm telling y'all. But yeah, we drove all the way down back here. And I mean, if you want to take it from there.
Yeah. So that was the beginning of a very crazy journey. And even back then, we're making like dumb decisions. I mean, mind you this, like during all of this time, like we're in the world and probably high every single day of our lives, like smoking weed all the time, religiously. Like we're always high. So like the cognitive decisions were not really there. We didn't really make wise decisions at all. So we're doing all this. We pack up your car in Maryland. I remember the morning. I remember leaving your apartment. I remember all of that, saying bye to Libby and all of them. And we left that morning, headed to Texas. It was a 2-day trip, yeah?
Yeah.
So we stopped somewhere in the middle. I don't really remember
I think
where.
there was Tennessee and then like Little Rock.
Oh, that's right. So it was a 3-day trip. But we were driving back, drove all the way back to Texas, finally made it. And then I lived with my parents and you lived with your dad, right? Mm-hmm. And in that meantime, you know, we were kind of like just sneaking around, you know, doing dumb stuff behind our parents' backs.
Well, your parents were not letting us sleep in the same room.
Yeah, rightfully so, right?
Yeah, my dad didn't really care.
Yeah. So all of that happened. I'll kind of fast forward a little bit. We ended up moving in with my brother, and that was our first time living together. And we lived there how many years? Was it just one?
It was like, I think it was like a year and a half or something, like close to 2 years maybe.
Around there.
Maybe
It was
like more like a year.
It was a hot minute.
Okay.
So we were there for a little bit. I had a job working at Sprint. I was a manager there. Extremely stressful job. Stress out of my mind. And then we're living together. We're not married. Living with another married couple, which just made things even more tied up. It was very hard decision that we did. Obviously, you know, not thinking right. Still smoking weed every day at this point.
Yeah.
And we quickly found out like this is not as glamorous as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And you know, we still work through stuff. We still tried to do things the right way, and we, in a way, sought God still. You know, we were like on a journey of finding ourselves.
In a way.
Yeah. Well, in a way, you know, we were still in like the new age stuff.
Yeah.
All of that. That's for another story. Anyways, after that, we got our own apartment, first apartment, and that's when all the crazy stuff happened.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go into what we went through at that first apartment.
Man. Yeah, that was a rough time. I'll tell you what.
Yes, it was.
I'll try to keep it short and simple, but where do I start? Well, like you said, we were smoking weed all the time. Barely hanging out with anybody. We had no friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was literally just you and I. It was COVID. So 2020. With each other 24/7, didn't have jobs.
In a small room.
500 square foot apartment.
Yeah.
Very gross. It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't horrible.
It really was not
It
that
was
bad.
in the hood.
Yeah.
It wasn't horrible though.
Ended up getting Ava during that time, so I will say she was the best part during that.
For sure.
She was a gift for sure. But when it comes into like the crazy stuff, we just didn't know how to fight. Well, I think, I mean, man, from my memory, like I would literally like black out, not like literally like faint, but like black out where I don't even remember how I would act. It was like something like came over me in a way, like when we would fight, like there would be so much like hurt and things that like I wouldn't know what I would say or remember. Like, you remember that? I'd be like, I don't remember saying that.
Yeah.
Like
it was very frustrating.
My brain just could not comprehend the things that I was speaking out loud. It was wild perspective.
We would have these arguments and like screaming matches. You know, not even an argument. We were yelling at each other like constantly.
My heart hurts thinking about it.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really, really bad. And at the beginning of it, like I didn't understand or I didn't even know that this was going to be a thing. Like that you're going to black out and your emotions are just going to go haywire. I have no idea. So I'm super confused. Every time we had an argument, I'm like, you said this and this and this. And that was like crazy, bro. Like that was insane that you said that. You're like, I didn't say that. Like, what are you talking about? And that happened multiple occasions. I'm just like, how do I talk?
Yeah.
How do we talk about things? You know, like there's no way that I can bring up anything that she did. So how is she going to know like what to change?
Yeah, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
To get changed. And like I remember there was something like deep inside of me that like wanted to heal and change so bad, but I did not know what to do. Like I would even write letters to myself in that season and say like, this is something I want to see change. But like this was before anybody was in our lives to like help us and everything. We'll get into that later. But like this is just you and I on our own. Like, and you did not see that growing up. So you probably had no idea what was going on, right?
No. I mean, I saw arguments.
But like I'm talking about like what we went through, like screaming, slamming doors, throwing stuff.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not. I didn't go through that. I didn't go through any chaoticness like that. I mean, like, yeah, there was heated moments. There's not any chaotic moments like that I can remember.
But for me, like I was around that. Like me and my siblings would wake up and just hear screaming at each other like every morning. And just saw anger and like, so with that being said, I just did not know what it looked like to fight healthy and to deal with our issues healthy. Because like you're gonna have issues, you're gonna have problems. Like if you think your relationship is perfect, like you're just passive aggressive at that point. Like you're not, like you're gonna have conflict. Like you have to learn how to like do it healthy. In that season, I just had no idea.
Yeah.
I feel bad for that season, but I know like we would not have the tools under our belt. We would not be where we are today if it wasn't for it. I think every marriage is gonna come to a place of like learning how each other works and like what it looks like to communicate. And like then, like you said, there were so many doors open. We were having sex outside of marriage. You and I hurt each other so much in the past that we didn't even heal from. So it wasn't even like hurt and pain from like growing up. It was like what we caused for each other. That was like, I feel like most of it, or like, 75%. But with that being said, you kind of just get a glimpse of the stuff we went through. I've said this in like our beginning of our first season, but my engagement ring came off 5 times.
Yeah, we got engaged in that same apartment.
Oh yeah, we got engaged. Yeah. He proposed to me. He got on his knee and, told me like, I don't want to take another step without doing this right. Like we knew we wanted to get married. We never gave up. We like kept fighting. We knew we wanted to be with each other. We were just like, what's wrong? Like, why can't we heal? And like, I mean, we just didn't have guidance or anything at the time. But I don't remember if people came into our lives before you proposed to me.
Yeah.
I think Roseanne did. Roseanne kind of stepped in. She came into my life, met her doing hair. She started pouring into me, changed her. It got to a better place where we knew we wanted to get married.
Yeah.
But after you proposed to me, it was like, I mean, if you want to like talk a little bit about that.
I mean, yeah, I think it just, honestly, I think it sparked the fire even more. Speaking in a spiritual sense, I think, when we start to plan something good, there's going to be attacks on it. And I think that's exactly what happened. We wanted to get married. We're like, all right, let's do this. And we were kind of stepping into our walk with God as well and kind of opening the door to what that looks like. And it was just, we were stepping in the right direction. And I think that just opened the door for attacks even more, especially not being married, still having sex outside of marriage, still living together, not married. So we were very vulnerable, extremely vulnerable to attacks. And that's exactly what happened. Throughout that time of us being engaged, things were better. I would say things were a little better. But there were still the arguments, probably even a little more intense. Just because we know we want this and we keep arguing and falling into the same cycle. So it was frustrating. It's really frustrating to know that you love this person, but you can't stop arguing with this person because for whatever reason, we can't see eye to eye, or we can't really operate in a way where it makes sense for both of us to talk. So it was extremely frustrating. It's almost at times I felt like I was speaking at a brick wall, yelling at a brick wall, during arguments. So during the time of us being engaged, we came across Holly and Alan.
Yeah.
And Holly and Alan are the ones that changed the entire course.
Literally.
We owe an extreme amount of gratitude to Holly and Alan, and I will probably send this to them, but we owe an extreme amount of thankfulness and gratitude to Holly and Alan because these people are... they're counselors. I don't know if they're specifically marriage counselors, but they're counselors, and they were actually a friend of Roseanne, which Roseanne actually kind of introduced the Holy Spirit into our relationship. And through Roseanne, we met Holly and Alan, and Holly and Alan willingly and just with open arms accepted me and Lex.
Yeah, it didn't even, like, they're not even charging for counseling.
Not
like,
charging.
Was like, I want to pour into your lives.
They just want to help us out. And we were just like, okay, like whatever this looks like, sure, let's try it out. I was skeptical at first, obviously. I'm fine. I'm super prideful at this time. I don't need help. I don't want to like fix our relationship. I just didn't believe in it really. And you were really the one that was like, yeah, let's go do this. And it's gonna be good for us. You were kind of pulling my arm on that. But we ended up going, and it just changed everything. Like, we had no idea how much we had wrapped up around our hurt, how much we had wrapped around our emotions and our relationship. everything was tied up. Everything was a mess. It was such a mess. And Holly and Alan really helped us untie that and see things for what they are. And really a big reason of this podcast is called The Higher View, because I really feel like that season we were able to see from a higher view, like a higher perspective, speaking from like a bird's eye perspective. I think that's what really opened my eye to see that. And
it's really cool.
Yeah, so props to them for getting us his name.
Yeah.
But so during that time, we walked through a lot of trauma that we've experienced with childhood, people that have hurt us in the past, soul ties that we don't want to be a part of anymore. We wrote all of these names down that have hurt us, wronged us, that we can remember all bad memories from. And they just prayed over us. And, through the counseling that they told us to do, we walked through it. We walked through it together and individually. And it really, really changed the course of how we thought. Really changed the course of how we saw things, how we saw each other. We would still have arguments in the midst of this, and we would call them. Yeah. We would say, like, just explain the situation. They'd walk us through it at any time of the day, so willingly. Love them so much for that.
Yeah, I love you guys.
Yeah,
so
they're amazing people. We were definitely going to shoot to have them on this podcast.
Hopefully for this series.
For marriage series.
Like, if we need to make a trip to Kansas City.
Yeah, they moved to Kansas City.
Catch us going.
But yeah, so we went through all of that, and that really led to us getting married.
Yeah.
Us getting married, I think, honestly, I believe that us doing the counseling really opened up the doors, like in a spiritual sense, for things to line up the way that they did. Yeah. Because we started doing the counseling, we started to get healed. Yeah. Like literally, we were getting healed in a very, very short amount of time as well, probably over a couple months span. But we went through all of that, and it really lined up for us to get married. We're like, all right, we really want to do this. They were telling us, like, if you don't get married, there's still open doors. You're going to be susceptible to attacks. So we're like, all right, then let's get married. We want to be together, so why not? And it really opened the door for us to get married. You have a stepsister that was going to get married during COVID time at the Hidden Pines Chapel in North Richland Hills. And she could not have her wedding during COVID because we couldn't have that many people around. But she already paid for the venue, and she couldn't get a refund. And during that time, we were looking to get married. And this was like it advanced a little more. COVID kind of ramped down a little bit. So they're allowing people to gather. And that was the time we were going to try to get married. So we talked to them, and they offered us the venue.
Well, just to back up a little bit, like, God literally gave me a dream about that. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
But how God I had a dream of getting this, like, I don't need to go in detail, but there was just a dream about that situation. Like, we were going to be giving a gift of this debt, pretty much. And then literally like 2 days later they told us, and we're like, this was the dream, bro. Yeah. so we like knew, like, this is a gift. Like, this is like where we're supposed to do next. Because at first we're like, how are we going to do this? Like, we want to get married so soon. Like, how are we going to do it?
Oh, we're broke.
Yeah, we got nothing.
We're like struggling, we're trying to figure out life. We're not, not on a budget. We're just spending money whenever we have it. It wasn't a good situation. And we were really like, we want to get married, but we really can't, we don't really have the funds to do it. I mean, my parents and your parents really helped in the end anyways.
I mean, it all was really helpful. Everybody pitched in, but like, we got a whole venue for free.
A $10,000 venue at that. Let's include that, because it was an expensive venue. It was really it was good. It was a good venue, and we were able to get that as a gift, which was amazing. I'm forever grateful for that as well. But we ended up getting married.
Everything like fell into place after we got married, I feel like. And we actually like came across the house before we got married.
Like a couple weeks.
Yeah. Like right when we stepped into the house, we saw that they had become marriage. We joined that. We got to meet everything was like falling into place. We ended up being in an age group with them getting married that same month. Yeah. Like, it was just like everything was falling into place. And so once we got married, like, you really feel the blessing over marriage.
There's a huge difference.
100%.
There is something that you cannot explain to people that are not married. once you get married, you finally understand. Once there's like sex that is actually within marriage, doing it the right way, it's completely different. It's a game changer. Like there's just a level of assurance. There's a level of like confidence knowing like this is my life decision. But yeah, so after we got married, moved into another apartment after that. And it was like the day after we got married, we moved into somewhere else, right? Was it the day after?
I think it was like a week before or a few days before our wedding.
Okay, like yeah, it was a week. It was a week.
Yeah, like when we got married, we were able to like step into the apartment, and it was like our new place starting fresh. Like it was like maybe a few days before the wedding. Like it was like very fresh.
Yeah. So we moved into a new place, around the time that we got married. Let's just say that.
Okay.
And, going to a new church at the house, really figuring out what this is going to look like with God, with us. And things are just going good, and things were really going good. But I think there were still a lot of things that we still needed to walk through. I think there was trauma that was still needing to be shed off. And even throughout all that season, like you can go through the initial healing of doing like counseling and stuff like that, but there's still work to do. There's still work to walk through. And we were figuring that out. We were figuring that out very much so. And there was still, like insecurities. There were still thoughts of the past and things that we still held on to that we had to walk through at the same time, and learning how to fight, learning how to communicate. And it was still a process, like, and still to this day, it's a process. Marriage is just work in general. But all that to say, we really want to preface this series of this podcast of marriage, that we want to show that marriage is work. We want to show that we didn't just get here. We didn't just get married. We didn't just show up and start a podcast and we have this amazing relationship. It took so much work. It took tears. It took frustration. I don't know about blood. Maybe not blood.
I was literally gonna be like blood, sweat, and tears, but I was like, there wasn't. I didn't want to say blood because that just sounds abusive.
Yeah, I don't
but it
think
wasn't
it was
like
blood.
that. But I mean, it's even work till this day. Like I think it's gonna always be work. Like it just is. But it's beautiful, because it's like you're helping me grow every day. Like you are a part of my growth, and like you're gonna pull that out of me. Like nobody else in this whole world can be as close as you are to me. So I think that's just that's the beauty of marriage. Like
Don't cry.
I just know it's teary-eyed, it's fine. But yeah, I love when you say like marriage is the best slap in the face, because it is.
It is.
It's like you're my best friend. Like I wouldn't change it for the whole world to be married. It's great.
It's a great feeling.
Especially when you're on the same page and the same path, and
Yeah. Well, we have learned so much in being married in a very short amount of time, 3 years.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, we've gone through like a 40-year-old relationship, though. We've experienced a lot within the 3 years. We'll say even previously, because we've known each other for a long time, and we struggled for a long time.
Words from Holly and Alan.
Yeah.
Those words are from us. Those words are from some wise people. Like we've been through a relationship what he just said.
Yeah. But we've just learned so much through that, and it brings me to a humble place, because I know for a fact I'm still learning. I'm 26. I'm still making mistakes. I still do not have it all figured out. And back then I really didn't have it all figured out. I really was making like some crazy moves. But now I have a sense of like understanding, like we're going to have to work at this. We're going to have to problem solve together. We're going to have to figure things out together. And I think one thing that we really mastered so well is how to fight well.
Yeah.
We do not fight. We just, I wouldn't even know what you call it. It's
bicker.
An argument. I don't know.
Conflict.
Yeah, we conflict. We don't fight. We conflict.
Yeah.
If we do have a disagreement, it's, sometimes there's emotions. Sometimes there's emotions mixed in there, but it's never like yelling. It's never how it used to be.
No,
it's kind of like a rule in our house now. We don't allow that. We don't really allow cussing to happen, like, and stuff like that. If our emotions get too wrapped up, it's like, all right, I got to step away.
Yeah. And a lot, like I was saying earlier, like create that safe space for that to happen, because I remember how it used to be would be like, I needed us to be okay right now, right this second, for me to be okay. Like, I'm like, we need to fix this now. And you're like, I need it. Like, and I'm like, no, like, please.
Yeah.
Like, I was not okay with myself. Like, I needed us to be okay for us to be okay. And that's not right. I feel like separate if you need to, and like take it to the Lord. Like, get God's like perspective on the situation from a higher perspective. And like, and it's hard to not just dwell on what he did. Like, I had to like think about me, like, why am I taking it this way? Why are my emotions so wrapped up right now? Like, what have I gone through this week today that I haven't opened up? Because it's like so much could be like bottling up, you know, realize. And he does one thing that sets that whole thing off. And now I'm taking my whole life at him. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think codependency was it played a big part in everything. I think even maybe a little bit still today, but that's really just something that we had to learn together. Is like, my feelings are different than your feelings. You know, we're married and we're one, but we're still different people. You know, and that's something that we're still figuring out. I mean, we're very much so better at it, but like back then it was like, if you're pissed off, I'm pissed off.
Yeah.
If I'm
I think
pissed off,
sometimes
you're pissed
it could be there. Like, yeah, like you said. Like,
yeah, and
it's a hard one.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
I think it's hard specifically for couples that are like best friends. And like, we're best friends. You know, we do everything together. Like, you want to go to the grocery store? Let's go.
Oh yeah, it's
Like,
a date.
yeah,
I love it.
We're doing everything together, you know, and it's very hard to kind of separate that when it needs to be separated. Yeah. So it's just a skill. It's a tool that we have to sharpen, you know, just like anything else. But codependency, definitely. I'd say pride definitely has been something that we've had to fight off a lot. More so on my side, you know, having to be apologetic, to be the first one to be apologetic, to recognize my wrongs. You know, there's, especially being a guy, I mean, being headstrong and always wanting to be right. You know, that's never a good mixture when two are in the picture.
Yeah, I heard this recently, and it was like, that's almost like an insecurity in a way, because it's like the guy like wants to feel respected, like that's in you, and a woman wants to feel loved. But like the moment the moment the woman will start like, you know, bickering or like snapping back or like being at, you know, attitude, and like think like she's the most powerful woman, like, you can't mess with me, like you're talking to me like that, like what do you know, that kind of attitude, that's coming from a place of like trying to protect yourself from hurt. And like, that's just insecurity, because like you're putting your security in that and not like what it should be in the first place, which is God. And then same thing for you being respected. Like, if I disrespect you, you automatically would probably want to get like in your protective mode. Mm-hmm. And that's not a good thing.
You know, buck back, I'll buck at you. You know, buck at me.
And we're both two very strong-headed people. Yeah. So we've had to learn to bite our tongue and walk through it together humbly and like get vulnerable, I think is where it starts.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's that's a good point. Like, being vulnerable is one thing that I've definitely learned how to do. I think you've taught me that, like, just your personality, you're a vulnerable person. And I think women in general are a little more on the vulnerable side. Nothing wrong with that. Like, so I think it's a beautiful thing. But the traits that you have, I've been able to pull from you. Be like, she's able to talk about that, and I'm being quiet about it. Maybe I should talk about it too. You know?
Yeah, we're not gonna like get anywhere if we don't invite each other in. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not gonna know how you're feeling. Like, I'm not gonna know how I'm affecting you. Mm-hmm. Like, if you keep it in and you don't tell me how I'm affecting you, how am I gonna know where I need to change? And I feel like that's where marriage can get like messy, is when you're not talking to each other. Like, you have to talk. And like, for you coming to me and saying, hey, you doing this affects me, or hey, you doing this, like, I don't like it. Like, can you do it in a different way, or like do it this way, or, you know, like helping me grow. Like, if I'm not humble enough to receive that, and I get like, it's gonna hurt hearing that stuff, you know, like it just does, because it's like, it's doing a work in you. If you hear that and you're just like, you don't care, like, nothing's gonna happen. Like, you're gonna feel it.
There's a perfect description in the Bible of how marriage should work. And I wish it was very easy to give this blueprint to people at the snap of a finger, because it's very eye-opening. It's very revealing to know this is how it works and this is how it should work. But how God talks about husband, love your wives as Christ loves the church. we're the church. We're Jesus' bride. We're God's bride. So if he loves us unconditionally, I have to love you unconditionally in the same manner. And it says, wives, to respect your husbands. And that's just how marriage works. It's a love and respect ratio. Love, respect, love, respect, love, respect. That's just how God made it. And it's a good dynamic. It's a good dynamic when you know how to use it. We're still learning how to use it.
Do you feel like I don't know how I want to ask this. Well, what does that look like for you? In our marriage, loving me unconditionally. Even if I'm doing something that's messy.
Well, love, the Bible also gives a depiction of love in the Bible too. It tells you what love is. Patient, kind, slow to anger, forgiving, all of those traits. So that's what I have to follow. Those are the things that I have to give towards you.
Yeah, love is patient, love is kind, for sure. It's definitely reminding me of just keeping that on my sleeve. I think it's a really good reminder, in life in general. Or I know we're talking about marriage, so let's keep it in this category. But just showing kindness, and it's definitely something I would like to grow in more. I know I am a kind person. I have a big heart, but I feel like I can be more kind in areas and more gentle in areas and patient, and it life doesn't have to be a rush in my head. It's not, in that moment, it could take time to get somewhere, let the emotion, because you've said before, emotional intelligence, God has gifted me with that. And if I can feel something, I'm taking it personal. I feel this, he's had a long day and I feel it. I have to learn to love you where you're at and know you're gonna be okay. We're okay and I'm okay. What you're bringing out or what you're going through does not have to turn into me feeling rejection or abandonment, because you're not going anywhere. And I remember you've had to really emphasize that in our marriage and in our life. I'm not going anywhere. I saw divorce growing up, you didn't. And so I think I get that. I get it now. I get you're not going. I really truly believe that, but it took a long time to trust those words. You're not going. You love me in my mess. You really do. Dang, this guy really loves me. Even looking at our marriage photos, I'll look at the way you looked at me at the altar, and I literally heard it in my mind. He loves you so much. He does. Believe that. Because I think sometimes it's hard to really believe somebody truly loves you, but you do. You love me, and you show that with your actions and the way you push me to grow better. And you when you correct me in a way, yes, you help correct me, you help me grow. You're not doing that out of what's wrong with you? Why are you doing it this way? You're doing it because you want to see me think better. When I come to you with the perspective, you're that's an exhausting way to think. Why are you thinking like that? And I'm instead of taking that oh, that's rude, why'd you say that? But no, you're right, it is exhausting. Can you help me through this? I could use your perspective, So marriage is beautiful.
Marriage is beautiful. And I do love you. I love you very, very much. I do. I remember our wedding day. I remember you walking down. It was like a dream. It really was. Holly and Alan were there too.
Yes, they were.
And Roseanne married us.
Yes, and Roseanne.
To include everybody into the story.
Guys, literally, Roseanne was the start. I don't know if you remember from the beginning of this episode. We're about to wrap this up, but beginning of the episode, Roseanne was the first person to make contact, cross paths with me in our life. That's where it started, and she literally married us.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was so beautiful.
But all that to say, we're in love. No, I'll just play. But we're learning, we're learning through marriage, and it is a beautiful thing. It is a beautiful thing when you're married and you're both wanting to be a better couple for each other, be a better person for each other. And when you both strive for that, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. You can always 1x yourself, but together you can always 10x yourself. And with God, you can 100x yourself.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's always better with other people. And it's amazing having a spouse that is on the same page with you, thinks very much alike, of you, and you guys have similar goals in life, all that stuff. I kind of just married my dream girl. But
love you.
I
married my dream boy. I had a feeling I was gonna marry somebody that was into boxing. Just knew it.
I am very excited for this series to get into the bad, the ugly, and the good and the great with all the topics that we're going to talk about on this series. There are many areas of topics that we can go into that we've experienced and within our marriage, the short time that we've been married. But we kind of just wanted to introduce our marriage and kind of get vulnerable for a little bit on this podcast and just show you guys what we've been through, how we've got here. And what our marriage looks like. We want to kind of just invite you into our kitchen table. So welcome, stay, eat, and come chill with us. In these next few episodes of this series, we're going to get into some cool, deep stuff with some good friends. But we are going to wrap up this episode. And this was amazing. I think this was a great episode. I'm glad that we got this personal side of us on here.
I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah, I really like sharing our story. I enjoy it. I feel like every time we share our story, it definitely has benefited someone. So I pray that this benefits someone in some way.
Yeah, I agree.
But we are going to wrap up this episode, and we're going to see you guys next time. Until then, see things from a very much higher view.
View.
Peace out, guys.
Peace out.